9 Things You May Not Know About William Tecumseh Sherman. Best remembered as one of the Union's most formidable generals during the American Civil War, William Tecumseh Sherman remains one of the most controversial military figures in U.S. history. His ruthless, scorched earth tactics, particularly during his march to the sea, earned him both notoriety and respect. But beyond his battlefield reputation, Sherman's life was filled with surprising twists, personal struggles, and remarkable experiences that shaped his legacy. Here are 9 little-known facts about the man behind the legend. 1. He was named after a Shawnee chief, William Tecumseh. Sherman, nicknamed Cump by his friends, was born in Lancaster, Ohio, on February 8, 1820. His father gave him the striking middle name Tecumseh in honor of the famed Shawnee leader who had organized a confederation of tribes in the Ohio Valley and allied with the British in the War of 1812. Though some questioned the wisdom of naming a child after a savage Indian, Sherman's father dismissed the criticism, insisting Tecumseh was a great warrior, too. He married his foster sister. Orphaned at age 9, Sherman was taken in by Thomas Ewing, a powerful Ohio lawyer and politician who later served as both senator and U.S. Secretary of the Treasury. Growing up in the Ewing household, Sherman formed a bond with Ewing's eldest daughter, Ellen. The two maintained a steady correspondence throughout his cadet years at West Point and his early Army career, eventually marrying in 1850. Their Washington, D.C. wedding drew an elite crowd, including President Zachary Taylor, Henry Clay, and Daniel Webster. Together, they had 8 children, though 2 died during the Civil War. 3. He played a part in sparking the California Gold Rush. While stationed in San Francisco in 1848, Sherman accompanied California's military governor, Richard Mason, to investigate rumors of gold along the Sacramento River. Sherman not only witnessed the early discoveries firsthand, but also drafted the official report sent to Washington confirming the findings. This news, along with other reports, unleashed a stampede of fortune seekers that swelled California's population 4-fold within a year. 4. His business ventures floundered. Sherman resigned from the Army in 1853 to pursue a civilian career and accepted a post running a San Francisco bank. But with the collapse of the gold rush economy, his branch went under, leaving him disgraced, particularly because many of his fellow officers had entrusted him with their savings. Sherman personally liquidated about $20,000 of his own property to soften their losses. After abandoning banking, he accepted the position of first superintendent of the Louisiana State Seminary of Learning and Military Academy, the future Louisiana State University. 5. He may have suffered a nervous breakdown during the Civil War. Promoted to brigadier general after the First Battle of Bull Run, Sherman was soon placed in charge of Union forces in Kentucky and Tennessee, a command he neither wanted nor felt ready for. Under mounting stress, he exaggerated Confederate strength, sent increasingly anxious dispatches, and became so erratic that newspapers branded him insane. He requested relief from command in late 1861 and spent weeks sidelined before returning to service under Ulysses S. Grant. Their partnership, cemented after the Battle of Shiloh in 1862, would prove decisive in winning the war. 6. He cut off communication during his march to the sea. When Sherman left Atlanta in November 1864, on his infamous march to the sea, he deliberately severed all telegraph lines to prevent news of his movements from leaking. This secrecy left both the Confederacy and even President Lincoln uncertain of his destination. Lincoln reportedly remarked, "We know what hole he went in, but we don't know what hole he will come out of." Sherman resurfaced weeks later in Savannah, sending his famous telegram presenting the city as a Christmas gift to the president. 7. He offered generous surrender terms to Confederates. Though he waged relentless campaigns, Sherman could show surprising leniency. When Confederate General Joseph E. Johnston surrendered in April 1865, Sherman initially granted terms that included amnesty and immediate readmission of Southern states into the Union. Washington officials swiftly overruled him, furious that he had conceded too much. Despite this, Johnston and Sherman later reconciled, and Johnston even served as a pallbearer at Sherman's funeral in August 1891. He applied his harsh tactics against Native Americans. After the Civil War, Sherman was tasked with securing the Great Plains for westward expansion and railroad construction. Determined to break native resistance, he advocated relocating tribes to reservations and targeted their food supply, encouraging the mass slaughter of buffalo. Under his direction, hunters decimated the herds, killing millions of bison. By the 1870s, most Plains tribes had been subdued, marking one of the darker chapters of his military career. 9. He firmly refused to enter politics. Sherman had no interest in becoming president, despite repeated efforts by Republicans in the 1870s and 1880s to draft him as a candidate. He famously declared, "I will not accept if nominated and will not serve if elected." His blunt refusal became legendary in political circles and gave rise to the term Shermanesque statement, still used to describe absolute rejections of public office.